From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
A lot to talk about as it pertains to Ohio State's spring game, the very first spring game broadcast nationally on Fox. Now, when you look at spring games, a lot of times you see one side of the ball look really, really good, and then you see the other side of the ball maybe not look as good. You saw that kind of matchup disparity happen early in this spring game when this Ohio State defense, this defensive line, was playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage against an Buckeye offensive line that we know needs some help. And we saw exactly the amount of help that it needed when we watched them in that bowl game, the Cotton Bowl against Missouri last season as well. Now, when you look at the defense, that's where I really want to focus on. The secondary on defense is extremely deep. No Lathan Ransom out there on Saturday for the Buckeyes, and they still had not one, not two, not three, but 4 interceptions against this Ohio State offense. It just goes to show what Jim Knowles is truly building in Columbus, Ohio. It just goes to show the steps that they are taking as a program on defense. This is going to be one of the best defenses in college football this year, if not the best defense in college football. I believe it's that good. I believe it's that deep. Now, when you talk about Ohio State, you have to talk about the offensive side of the ball. You have to talk about maybe the most talked about quarterback battle in all of college football. You got to talk about Will Howard, and you got to talk about Devin Brown, and you got to talk about Julian Sain, and you got to talk about Lincoln Kienholz, and you got to talk about Aaron Nolan. There's 5 of them in there. An extremely talented quarterback room that exists in Columbus, Ohio. Here are the takeaways I took at the quarterback position from this Ohio State spring game. The veterans are leading the charge. Will Howard and Devin Brown. And I believe that's the way you want it with such high pressure and expectations that exist in Columbus, Ohio. I know Julian Sain has been getting a lot of hype. I know he's been getting a lot of press from what he's been able to show in spring practice. But in almost a national championship or bust type of season, these true freshmen are going to be very talented one day. I just think you want a veteran leading the charge. And that the spring game really showed that. The freshmen, I think, still have a ways to go. They still have some things to develop on. Although they did look really good. I thought Julian Sain responded after throwing that interception pretty well. But this seems like it's going to come down to Will Howard and Devin Brown. I think Devin Brown is pushing Will Howard right now. Will seems to be the leader in the clubhouse. He seems to fit what Chip Kelly wants to do. He seems to fit around how run-centric that this offense wants to be in 2024 as well. But then again, when I watch Devin Brown, who's been banged up, right? We haven't really seen a truly healthy Devin Brown. Remember last spring, he got hurt, and then, of course, what happened in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri as well. All of those factors kind of led to him not being the guy last year in Columbus, Ohio. Now he's fully healthy. Now he's getting his chance to compete for this quarterback job. When I look at Will and what he brings to the table, right, he came out 11 personnel, 10 personnel. You split out 4 wide receivers. And it's classic Chip Kelly football, man. It's classic, like it was at Oregon, right? You spread everybody out. You have the threat that is the pass game, and it's power run. It's spread run game. And you've got 2 of the very best backs in college football in the backfield. I remember it very specifically. They spread them out 4 wide, and they took advantage of the matchups in the box. I feel like that's going to be Buckeye football in 2024. And then that transitions into this running back room as well. That was something that people were talking about. I was kind of talking about it. What were we going to see in the spring game? I don't know if Trevion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins by themselves is going to rush for 1,000 yards. I mean, they very well could, but the way it seems right now is this is split. They want to keep both of those guys fresh right now, both of them taking a good amount, a healthy, an equal amount of some good reps in the spring game as well. And they're both extremely talented. Now, they did talk on the spring game about possibly getting them on the field at the same time. I believe that's going to be more of a wrinkle and maybe more of a rarity more than anything. You're going to put both of these guys on the field to kind of mix things up when it comes to the defense, kind of looking at what you're doing. I could very well see someone like Quinshon lining up in the slot. You have Trevion to the left or the right of the quarterback as well, getting them on the field at the same time that way, and some designed screens or short passing to get some of those receivers out in a different area of the football field, get it to them out on the perimeter a little bit quicker so they can catch and go, and you get an easy 6, 7, 8 yards and keep moving the chains for a first down. But it seems like you're going to see a lot of both of them, and that was to be expected. That's what I was anticipating. You weren't going to bring in Quinshon Judkins, okay, to be a clear number 2. Okay, when you have Trevion Henderson fully healthy, he's one of the best backs in all of college football. So everything seems to fit, and this is an Ohio State run game that could be one of the very, very, one more time, very best in all of college football. When I looked at Purdue's spring game, I thought of one word: improvement, improvement, improvement. I want to emphasize it 3 times, even though it's one word, because I think that's just how improved I feel that the Boilermakers will be, and that the spring game really showed. And the unit that maybe looked the most improved was that Boilermaker offensive line. This was an offensive line that was extremely banged up last season. There were injuries all across this front, and the injuries across the front maybe caused Hudson Card to get a little bit banged up himself. He was running for his life back there in West Lafayette, Indiana. And when you look at Hudson Card, if he is protected, he has one of the very best arms in this conference. He has a ton of arm talent. Early and often in this spring game, you saw good protection from this offensive line, not only protecting Hudson Card, but some of the other quarterbacks that exist on this Boilermaker roster as well. When I looked at Hudson Card, when he's able to sit back there and throw the football, he makes really good decisions. He's extremely accurate, and he is decisive. That is such a key word in all of this, in being decisive. His decisiveness really comes from this being his second year in this system, knowing this system, knowing where the ball has to go in certain situations, quick decisions with the football. You combine that decisiveness with the improved pass protection and the improved offensive line. They've gone to the transfer portal and done some things as well. They've beefed up, certainly in their size. I really like what I saw out of Purdue's offensive line in this game as well. Let's talk about the running back position for the Boilermakers. So you have Devin Brown, who had a really good year during his walk-on freshman season. Last year, had some ball security issues. Tyrone Tracy came in, kind of stole the thunder a little bit, and we didn't see maybe the year for Devin Brown last year. Maybe a little bit of a sophomore slump for Devin in the black and gold. So then you bring in Reggie Love in the transfer portal. Big Ten fans, we know all about that name and what he's done at Illinois. And the big question coming into this spring game is, where are the reps going to be split? Is this Devin's show? Is he RB1? Or is this a 1A and a 1B? I ventured to lean towards the latter. I ventured to say that this is a 1A and a 1B. Now, Devin did look like the 1A in this Purdue Boilermakers spring game. He did look like the guy that maybe is going to lead more series more often than not. But being able to plug in Reggie Love and what he is able to do makes this Purdue offense even that much more dynamic. I really liked what they were able to do in this game and kind of what I saw. Now, once again, it is a spring game, not a whole lot of live tackling, so you got to take that into consideration. But I was more looking at it from a depth chart point of view. Okay, who's taking reps and how often with which group? And it looks like it's going to be split. The cradle of quarterbacks is not going to stop, it looks like, after Hudson Card. Marcos Davila, aside from maybe that pick six, towards the end of this one, he was accurate and he was calm, cool, and collected. This kid's a high schooler. Okay, he's an early enrollee, and I was very impressed in how he was patient. Okay, and as decisive as he was, we mentioned that word with the veteran, Hudson Card, but Marcos Davila is next for Purdue at the quarterback position. Boilermakers should be very excited about what's to come at the quarterback position. They recruited really well. I thought this past recruiting class overall for Ryan Walters was very, very good. I believe it was top 30 to top 35 in all of college football. Considering it's your first really full class, that's pretty impressive for a young coach like Ryan Walters.
Thanks for watching Big Ten TED, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten TED to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.